I've run on, as you know, I believe in plans. I've run on something every time I've run. I'm running for reelection in 24, and I've been traveling the state, and I'm telling people this is exactly what I'm going to do, and that's why I win, and that's what whoever's going to run on the Republican side, they ought to be very clear. You vote for me, this is what you get. You vote for the Democrat, that's what you get. And what the Democrats are doing is bad for this country.
Rick Scott, I followed you for a long time in your two very close campaigns for governor, and you'll win re-election in Florida easily. But you always have run on a plan, but you also have a bankroll. You made a lot of money because you worked very hard. You started out in public housing and you made money. Does someone who run for the Senate have to begin with a bankroll?
No, but what you have to do is you have to convince donors that you can win. I mean, I tell people, people come to me all the time, they want to run. And I said, well, here, you've got to build relationships with sort of all these groups. One, voters. Two, donors. Three, volunteers, because you need all three of them. If you can't get a group of volunteers to help you, it's hard to win. If you can't get donors to help you, it's hard to win. But if you have look at Tiffany Smiley. Tiffany Smiley outraised for her campaign Patty Murray. So you can, if you want to, you don't have to have money to win, but what you have to do is you have to convince donors of why you can win, and you've got a great agenda. You got to do both. You have to have an agenda, and you have to tell people this is why I can win.
No, I also, you know this because you were all over the place. Indiana's an open seat. I want Jim Banks to run for that because I think he'll win. He's young. I don't want 77-year-old Mitch Daniels to get into that. I love Mitch Daniels. I think he's great. But I think the ideal candidate will be a veteran who's under 50 who can connect with donors, volunteers, and voters. Am I right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It makes all the sense in the world. Because we need to have new energy. And by the way, Jim Banks is great. I've had the opportunity to work with Jim quite a bit, and he is great. And he clearly is a conservative. He has principles. He's got a wonderful wife. He'd be a great candidate.
And he's a Navy man. He deployed to Iraq, to Afghanistan. And I just hope the field clears because I don't want to have messy primaries. Now, you had a rule, and I don't know if the NRC is going to change that rule. I haven't talked to Senator Daines yet about not intervening in primaries. I want them to. I want them to tell the voters of whatever state it is, not make them do something, but give them their professional opinion on who would be the best candidate. And recruitment is hard if you can't back it up. Do you think the NRC ought to change its rules and go and endorse someone?
Here's what's hard, Hugh. You can become the establishment candidate. Then you become the DC candidate.
Yep, I know.
And that makes it hard. Where you can have an impact, which we did not have the opportunity this time because the Democrats didn't really have primaries, and they will this time. Is you can participate. It's easier to participate in the Democrat primaries than it is, as a Republican. It's what they did to us. I mean, Democrats participated in our primaries. Now, it didn't help them out in Colorado. They spent, I think, $10 million against Joe O'Dane. It didn't work. So I think that you got to be really, really cautious because there's so many examples of DC establishment Republicans get involved in primaries, and then that person loses, and then you have no relationship with the person that got through the primary.
So let's take Jim Banks, for example. Jim is solidly right-wing, solidly conservative, veteran, a member, a chair of the Republican Study Committee. There are some people who will want to challenge him for a little notoriety, get a leg up in the future. If I'm the NRSC, I say to him, don't do that or we will not be on your side in the general. That's putting a very light finger on it. That's not anointing Jim Banks. It's just telling that the nonsense candidates do not screw up your life here.
But what happens if Jim loses? Are they really going to stay out of that race when they can pick it up?
No, they would get in, but I don't think he's going to lose. I mean, I think this is the kind of thing that it's so obvious he's going to win. All it does is hurt him if people get in against him at this point.
Remember, there's lots of examples. Like, remember the NRSC endorsed Charlie Crist against Marco Rubio.
Good point. But that was you had good consultants, you had good pollsters. I mean, you were a happy talker like I'm a happy talker towards the end, and we got beat in some places where we kind of knew we were going to get beat, but we were doing a happy talk because we were praying. I just want realism, Senator, and you just came through this. Yeah. And how much realism do we need in the party about who can win and who can't?
Oh, but we can do that by individual senators can endorse. donors. Donors can figure this stuff out too. I think there's probably Hugh, I think it's hard to do for Republicans, the DC establishment Republicans that have an impact on the Republican side, but I think they can help make sure, it's what Schumer does on our side, helps try to pick, our candidates. We probably can have an impact on their side.
Oh, I'd love to get them to nominate a lunatic to run against you, but you're going to win easily. I just don't want any Republicans to try and run to your right, annoy you, lose by 80 points, but make you spend money. Really, I will come down like a ton of bricks on people. I will play in the Rick Scott primary to keep people out. Is anyone even thinking about running against you?
No.
Good.
I mean, look, it's everybody can run. Everybody gets the right to run. But I've been traveling. I travel the state. I've shaken hands with at least 600,000 Floridians. I mean, I travel the state. I was in 2 cities, or 3 cities yesterday. I'll be in a couple cities today. And when we're on recess, I'm traveling the state. So I'm talking to people. I think if you do that stuff and you've done your job and you did what you said you're going to do, I think it's hard to run against you, a person. And so
Jim Langford drew an opponent. I just couldn't believe it. He's like you, as conservative as the day is long. And I early on got in and said, that's nuts. Let me close by asking you, the RNC is meeting in Southern California in a couple of weeks. They're going to announce when the debates start for the presidency. When do you want them to start? I want them to start in May. They're talking about July or August in Milwaukee. When do you want them to start?
I think May. I think May would be early. Don't you think there won't be everybody that's, I know there's lots of people going to get in. I don't think everybody will be in the race by then.
The reason I want to start in May is that it gets us small donors to the RNC and WinRed, and we're behind Democrats.
Yeah, that probably helps. Yeah, you're right.
It's just audience. I just want audience they're all going to be good candidates. I'm not picking anyone. I just want audience. Senator Rick Scott, keep coming back. He's running for re-election. He's going to win. And if you're even thinking about running a protest campaign, go do something that will make good use of your time. Thank you, Senator Scott.